Hello everyone. So most of us have been affected by pandemic and a lot of us are searching for new jobs. So I thought of helping you all in building your online resume so that you get better chances of securing a new job in 2021. And even if you are looking for a job switch, having an online resume will create an impact on potential interviewer because you can just share a link and showcase that you have a relevant web development skills and have necessary knowledge to build your own resume online, which is a huge plus when clearing technical interviews as such. And it has helped me personally a lot of times while clearing my interviews at product based companies as well as startups. So, just to give you a brief example of what kind of resume I want to build today or want you all to help in building, let me just show the example. Before that, I'm just going to minimize myself at the end of the screen. Yeah, so this is the resume which we are trying to build today. So we have our name, our title, then experience, then all the social handles linked directly at the homepage. One of the advantages is if somebody wants to connect you on LinkedIn or somebody comes across on your, or let's say there is some HR manager who wants to connect with you with potential job role, he can directly connect with you on LinkedIn. Then you have your GitHub profile mentioned on the second link where you can showcase your projects, where a potential interviewer can actually look at what kind of projects you have built. Then you can link other social channels like Twitter, YouTube, and I have a personal blog, so I will link that at the end of the homepage. Other than that, we have our experience section. If you are a fresher, you can remove this experience section and add, let's say, some internships which you have done, or if you have participated in some college events, you can add it here. Then we have education sections, then we have skills, your interests, and lastly awards and certifications. So that is basically what we are trying to build today. Now you can build such kind of websites from scratch, but since we can actually use pre-built templates and ease our workflow and deploy this in much lesser time, what I'm going to give you is some kind of examples from which you can use ready-made templates. So just by searching free Bootstrap resume templates, you will be greeted with a lot of templates. Now, if you are an experienced professional, you can actually use a template from Bootstrap made. Again, this is a free and open source template which you can use with a lot of sections, and this kind of website can have an impact if you are an experienced professional. Now, since I am targeting this tutorial for freshers and college students, I am going to keep the template simple, and the template which I am using is from startbootstrap.com. I will share the link at the description of this video. If you still want to go through Google, you can search for free Bootstrap resume templates and it is present at the third link. So this is the template which we are going to use. If you go on live preview, you can see a similar format which I just explained right now. Now, one of the advantages of this template is it is MIT licensed so that you can easily use it without any copyright restrictions and deploy it on your own personal websites or GitHub account. So let's start off with the agenda for today's session. So the entire tutorial will be covered briefly in 4 steps. Firstly, we are going to create a GitHub repository for our online resume. Then we are going to download this template and then edit the template with our personal information. Lastly, we are going to publish this resume on GitHub first and then on Netlify, and hopefully have fun while building this resume along the way. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go to github.com and create your own account. Once you have an account, you will go to repository section, click on new, and have a repository for something like, let's say, resume 2021, and add an optional description like, let's say, personal resume website 2021. Now the reason why I'm adding the year is because I tend to create an online resume each year so that I am able to keep it updated. That is why I just added a year. In your case, you can add a personal resume website. Other than that, you can add a README. Now, Git Ignore is a file by which you can add some files which are to be ignored by GitHub. Currently, I don't want Git Ignore to be added from here, but from my own personal another website, so I'm not going to click that. Then in case of license, I'm just going to select MIT license so that other people can fork this repo directly if they want, and I will hit create repository. Now as you can see, our repository is made. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to download this repo into our local system. So what we need to do is go to this code button here and copy either the HTTPS URL or SS URL. Click on this clipboard icon to copy this URL. Next, we are going to make use of VS Code. If you haven't downloaded VS Code, you can search for Visual Studio Code online. So this is the editor which we are using currently, and download it for your relevant OS. Once you have downloaded the Visual Studio Code, you can go to the Git section here and click on initialize a repository. Or other than that, I think there is an option to clone a repo somewhere. So let's just go and check it out. Yeah, on these three dots there is an option add a clone from GitHub option. So it is at three dots. Paste the URL of the resume template and hit enter. Then it will ask where you want to download this resume template. So I'm just going to add it somewhere where I can keep a track of it. So it is placed in online resume for me. And once I select resume location, the online repository will get downloaded locally. So just to check that it is downloaded. As you can see, I have a resume 2021 with license and readme downloaded, which was present here. Next, we need to open that repository. So click on file and hit open. Go to that repository and hit open. Next thing that we need to do is add a Git Ignore. For that, I make use of a website called Git Ignore.io, and here you can download a custom built Git Ignore template. In my case, I need to ignore macOS files as well as VS Code. So I am going to hit enter, and these are the files which need to be ignored from my repository. Then I will select the entire text, go to my VS Code folder, and this is the icon for creating a new file. Hit that and add .git ignore and hit enter, then paste the git ignore file, and this covers the basic task of adding git ignore. Let's just commit the changes before moving forward. So for committing the changes, we move to the Git section here, stage our changes by hitting the plus icon, then go to these three dots, click on commit and click on commit stage and add a commit like added git ignore. And once we have done that, we need to push the changes so that the changes are reflected in our online repository. So a stage process is usually followed while deploying changes on GitHub, which is stage, commit, and then push. Once we have pushed the changes, hopefully the git ignore file will be reflected here. As you can see, we have added it here. Next, we go to startbootstrap.com. Then we click on free download. The link will be provided in the video description of this tutorial. Hit free download, then select the location where we want to download the file. In our case, I am going to download it somewhere in my online resume folder. As you can see, I have downloaded the zip file. Now, once you extract the zip file, you will have the folder structure like this, where index.html is the main entry file. Then we have some JS files, CSS files, and some assets with some images, right? So first thing that we are going to do is copy all these files from the extracted folder and paste it within our GitHub repository. Once you have pasted these files, they will be reflected here. So if I go into my file section, as you can see, we have all the assets, CSS, JS, and index file added here. Next thing that we are going to do is we are going to use an extension called as live server, which is used for changing the website in real time. Once you have installed this live server extension by searching here, go to index.html file, hit right click and click on open with live server. And with that, the local files will get opened in our browser. Next, let me just adjust my editor so that the files as well as my website is visible currently. With live server, we can make changes here and those changes will get reflected in real time here. First thing that I'm going to do is change the title from resume to resume of Saurabh and hopefully the title will get reflected at the time. As you can see, it is reflected here. Then let's go on changing the files one by one. For example, if I want to change this name, I can see that Clarence Taylor is typed here. So I can add Saurabh, hit save, and my changes will get reflected here. So just like this, we can change all the sections here. Now this is the more linear part of the tutorial which will take some time, and you can add the links at the href hash here related to your LinkedIn and GitHub and Twitter accounts as such. Now this might take around 10 to 15 minutes to 1 hour depending on how much time you need to make all these changes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste these changes from the files which I've already created. So let me just open that file here and paste the changes. Now the reason why I did not do it step by step is because this is a pretty straightforward process where you just see what kind of element you want to change and you need to make the changes in the relevant text files. Like if this is the text, you can see that the text is added somewhere in this tag. Just go there and change the text and so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward process, right? And then I'm just going to replace my image, which will be here, so that instead of the image which was shown in the folder, I have my own image. I'm just going to remove the default image from here to reduce the file size, and as you can see, our resume is ready. So this covers the process of building the code locally. If you want to go through the code, you can go through the code structure here. As you can see, we have some external font families. We have used a font library which is Font Awesome. Font Awesome is a kind of a font library by which you can add various icons in your website. For example, if you want something like, let's say, LinkedIn icon, so you can just search for an icon here. As you can see, we have icon like LinkedIn. Then the icon is added using a particular syntax, which is I class FAB, which is font awesome default class, and then the name. For example, this is LinkedIn -in, so you add that kind of icons here, right? In my case, I had to add a YouTube icon, so I just search for YouTube here. Then I saw that the name was YouTube. I copied that name and added it as FAB, FA-YouTube with my YouTube link, and that kind of icon got reflected here. So basically, these icons which you see here, which is GitHub, Twitter, and so on and so forth, are added using Font Awesome library. Other than that, we have, I think, Bootstrap added at the top, which must be present in the CSS file. So let's explore the CSS file just a bit. So as you can see, we have the Bootstrap entire Bootstrap file added here, and from that, the entire Bootstrap structure is reflected in our website. And then we have basic HTML tags and Bootstrap syntaxes like img, fluid, and such. If you don't know about Bootstrap, you can go to Bootstrap website and learn more about how these CSS frameworks work. So that's basically the entire HTML and CSS structure of this resume template. Once we are done with creating all the files like CSS and JS files. So even this script contains a small JavaScript which is based on Bootstrap, and it is added by Start Bootstrap team. And I think this is for scroll. Yeah. So most of the time, I think first this navbar collapse is basically collapsing our navbar whenever a particular resolution is crossed. Then we have our scroll trigger for easing animation, which is present like this, and that is more or less what the JavaScript does. So once we are done with creating our website, which was I think the third step of our agenda, first was we created a GitHub repo, then we downloaded a resume template, then we added our personal information. Now the final step is to publish the resume. So the way to do it is go to again the GitHub uh, section here, stage all the changes which we just made. Like what we can do is, as you can see, we have staged all our changes. Then we click on commit staged, click on yes, and add a commit like add personal information. Once we are done with that, I think we have two source controls here. Okay. Once we are done with that, we can push the changes by clicking on push here. Once we push the changes, they will get reflected in our online GitHub repo. And as you can see, all the files like our index file, which was present there, got added here. Then our CSS files, our image, which I added just now, and our JavaScript files. Next thing that we need to do is actually deploy this resume on Netlify. So Netlify is a website on which you can host your websites for free. Go to netlify.com by searching for Netlify on Google, clicking on the first link, click on the login button, sign up using GitHub if you haven't created an account on Netlify yet. Then click on new site from Git, go to GitHub by clicking on that GitHub button. Then you can search for your repository. So this is the repository, right, which is resume 2021. So I selected that repo on Netlify. Then I want to deploy my main branch. I think there are no changes required here. And then I will click on deploy website and wait for the site to get deployed. So as you can see, site deploy in progress message is displayed. Once the site is deployed, you will get a URL like this. If you click on this URL, your website will be available on an online temporary URL. Next thing that we can do is I don't want something like priceless, whatever this URL is. So I will click on site settings, go to domain, and I will edit the site name and I will give it a proper name for something like Saurabh Resume and hit save. So let's just keep it 2021. And now if I click on this URL, my resume is available on this URL, which I can share it with others. And as you can see, we have our online resume ready with complete details about ourselves. Then we can share this URL with potential recruiters, interviewers, and even on our GitHub profile as such. So, and hopefully this will improve our job prospects for our future job opportunities as well as interviews. So that completes our step 4, and step 5 is up to you. This finishes our short tutorial on creating and deploying an online resume using GitHub, Netlify, and Bootstrap. Hopefully, you got some new information from here. If you would like, you can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I will share the links in the description of this video. And tutorials like this take a lot of time from me, like creating this tutorial took around a couple of hours to build and plan and structure and execute. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel for upcoming videos, and do share it with someone who is actually looking for job opportunities, so that their chances for getting an interview are boosted a lot. And that is actually the core purpose of making tutorials like this. So I hope I helped you today, and have a nice day. Thank you and goodbye.